Hey everybody, today I have flown all the way out to Detroit to get hands-on with the all-new Ultimate Off-Road Ram pickup truck. This is the new 2025 Ram 1500 RHO. The RHO is not a replacement for the TRX. Ram was pretty upfront about that. It of course doesn't have the 6.2-liter supercharged engine that we find in the TRX, and it doesn't produce as much power. Instead, it's targeted at a different audience, one that wants to spend a little bit less money because it's a lot less expensive than the TRX, and directly focused at the Ford Raptor, not the Raptor R. We don't know whether the TRX is going to come back or not, but I suspect it's a pretty good chance. Let's dive into what we are getting for 2025 though. To help me explain the RHO, I have Andre from TFL Truck, one of my dear friends and definitely the guy I call whenever I have truck questions, and he's no longer lurking in the back seat of one of our reviews.
I'm in the front, Alex. Thank you for having me in your video.
Yeah, thanks for coming along. And let's take a look. You know, I ran into him here because we're both here to film the new RHO. Now, Ram says this is not a TRX replacement, but it shares a lot with the old TRX.
Yeah, specifically the bodywork, right?
Yeah.
When I came here and I saw it, the
wide body
fenders in the front. Also, you can see it right there in the back.
It really gives it that distinctive hourglass feel.
I love that. I love that. And Ram says the headlamps I knew, right? So the headlamps, let me turn them on really quickly for you.
Yeah, and then while you do that, I'll point out that because this is so wide, they've added some extra air treatment here to the outside of the headlights. That's a functional air intake, and then the air is exhausted right after that front fender flare.
Exactly, and also like the tire package, you know, it's still rolling on 35s. That's very similar to the TRX. The shocks and the suspension geometry are very similar, although this truck weighs less than the TRX, right? Because of the powertrain.
And I like that aspect. They said that most of the weight was, of course, removed from the front because this engine is significantly lighter than the old 6.2-liter supercharged engine. So when you're jumping your truck, it probably won't have quite as nose-heavy of a feel.
Exactly. I'm sure people will jump this, right?
I'm pretty darn sure there's going to be a jump event at some point. And since it's so wide, we, of course, have those distinctive clearance lights right there in that hood scoop, and the hood scoop is functional.
Yes. Do you want me to pop the hood?
Yeah, let's pop the hood.
Because that's the big story, right?
Yeah, it's the big story.
Yeah.
We have the Hurricane high output. You can see that right there. Now, these hood louvers here, those are not functional. Those are just decorative. But the big one there, that is, of course, fully functional. Under here, we find 540 horsepower harnessed there in that 3-liter twin-turbo 6.
Yep, and also 521 pound-feet of torque.
Now, the Ram folks were definitely really upfront in saying that this is not exactly the same horsepower and torque curve as the regular high output version, partially because of the air cleaner over here, the Ram air intake, and it's funny, they actually call that a Ram airflow, which is kind of cool.
Ram air.
Yeah, Ram air. And then this is where the air comes in, of course, over there, goes right there through that conical air filter and then into the engine. They say that improves the torque curve and horsepower curve, but according to the SAE, the horsepower figures are the same.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? The chief engineer, Doug Killian, right, told us that in the mid-range of the RPM, right, that's where most of the power and torque improvements are. And also it has to do with the exhaust system.
Yes.
He said equal length, dual exhaust system, that's supposed to have its own kind of sound character. But of course, that's a big deal. We need to listen and hear it for ourselves.
Yeah, and also on the mechanical side, some cool changes here. So this uses basically a reworked version of the 2-speed transfer case from the old TRX, and that has not only a low ratio mode, but it's a variable torque split unit. So it can send up to 70% of the power to the rear axle, and it's a full-time 4-wheel drive system. Let's go back here and take a look actually at the rear suspension, because we have these remote reservoir rear dampers right there, the Bilstein active dampers. They call those the active terrain dynamic system. 35-inch tires, those are really big. Do you think you could fit 37s on here?
Ram says yes, but a lot, you can put a 37, but only kind of for show, right? If you're gonna articulate this truck and, you know, turn it really tight, it's not really meant for 37s.
Got it.
But you could put it, but, you know, if you wanted to show off a little bit.
Yeah, and let's look back here. This is the unique exhaust back here. Of course, full-size spare tire tucked up under there. Obviously, a 37-inch spare
probably
would not fit there. That's
yeah.
not going to fit. Trailer wiring harness connections, over 8,000 pounds of towing capability.
Yeah,
right
8,380.
Yeah, it's actually pretty healthy.
Which is more than an F-150 Raptor, the regular one.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. And, you know, towing capacity and payload capacity is something that Ram is usually fallen a little bit behind the competition on. These are camera inputs, so that if you have cameras on your trailers or in your trailers, you can connect those to the system. Big, huge honking recovery hooks. And let's take a look down here at that big rear differential, nice and meaty down there,
Yep, and rear locker as well, and skid plates.
but no front locker.
No, no front locker still.
I am surprised about that, actually. I kind of had hoped that there might be a front locker, but remember, this is not going to be possibly the pinnacle of the Ram lineup. They won't talk about a future TRX.
Right. Let me try to open this, actually.
Now, I noticed that apparently the power tailgate appears to be disabled on this particular truck.
Yeah, this is a prototype.
But with this open, we can point out the onboard 2 kilowatts of inverter output. That's a really handy touch, and I'm really glad that Ram is bringing that to their lineup now too.
Yeah, I'm really thankful they did. You know, Ford started that with the F-150 hybrid, right?
Yeah.
That system was really high output, and now Ram is doing a little bit of that as well.
It's really great for overlanding, camping, that sort of thing, and of course, just working in the yard when you might need to power something. Let's take a look at the interior, because obviously that's a big departure. I'll let you hop over there on the driver's side so you can be our Vanna White poking buttons. And the first thing you're going to notice is that this is actually a pretty luxurious interior for an off-road truck. We have the very distinctive passenger screen over here that was seen in other Ram models. I have to admit, I am still a little unsure as to whether I like the passenger screen. It doesn't do much. That's my problem with it. What do you think?
Is it coming on for you right now?
It took a while to turn on earlier. I think it was, oh, there we go. Now it's on. It's also not the brightest screen because, of course, they want to make sure the driver doesn't see it, so it has a one-way prism, so the driver can't actually see it.
Actually, it looks black to me.
Yeah.
I can't see it from my angle.
So what do you think about the passenger screen?
Yeah.
I wish it did more.
I wish so too. So can you watch? You can watch some media there, right?
Yeah, you can watch things.
The map.
You can
What
watch
else
the
can you
map.
do?
We have a passenger side HDMI port right there that you can plug something into, and that's kind of it.
But if you're watching something, you probably brought your iPad or a laptop, right? I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking.
I'm not sold on that passenger screen yet.
Yeah, you can get it without the screen, of course, and if you do, you get a glove compartment up there. And of course, we get the regular glove compartment down there, pretty decently sized.
Yep. So this interior is new, like other Ram 1500 trucks for 2025. This is, by the way, this is level 1, they call it. So this is an upgraded RHO with some additional luxury features.
All the fancy bits.
Yeah. So this
Leather
is a larger
stitch
screen.
dash.
Yep, larger screen and the rest.
I do like the big vertical screen format in the Ram. I think this is better done than the current generation Ford F-150. We were just in the Lightning, actually, and I like this software a little bit better, just the design of it, the look and feel. And I like the fact that they have not gone completely button minimalist. I don't quite understand why we have trailer brake controls right there when we have the trailer brake controller down there, and they could have just put buttons next to it. But aside from that,
I know this is weird because what if the screen is cracked and this is not working, right?
No gain adjustment for you. Just whatever it had. The auxiliary switch location I kind of like though. I think that's really well done.
Yeah, because you have up to 4 of them, which is really nice.
And then lots of USB inputs, charge only, 4 that interface with the system, and the dual wireless charger setup that we see in the rest of the lineup.
Yeah, this is really sweet. And also the console mounted transmission shifter that you can also find on Rebel GT.
Yep.
And that truck, the Rebel X, that's next to us on the stage that they're also introducing.
Yep, we will be taking a look at that one in just a moment. Over here, of course, we have the RHO drive mode selector in place of that rotary shifter that we would find in the regular Ram 1500, and launch control.
Yeah, that's really important because the TRX used to have it, right?
Yeah.
So I think the RHO has to have that as well.
Big LCD screen right over there, and pretty decent headroom. We always focus on headroom here at Auto's Buyer's Guide. So how tall are you? 6'1", 6'2"?
No, go up a little bit. I'm almost 6'3".
6'3", okay, there we go. And plenty of headroom there.
Yeah,
and
this is great.
plenty of headroom behind. The Ram 1500 has a pretty darn big cabin.
Look, I lowered the seat a little bit, and this is me sitting up.
Yeah, definitely
this is
lots of room. And a full color heads-up display there, of course. Big LCD instrument cluster with unique graphics there for the RHO, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks a beefy truck. You can see a lot of its data. You also have pages up here. Oh yeah, performance
pages, the race options. Let's see what's in, oh yep, pretty typical gauges. We've seen this in a lot of the SRT vehicles from Stellantis before. G-Force. I like the engine dyno. I know a lot of folks that are watching probably know I have a Durango SRT, and even though I very rarely drive it in a spirited fashion, it spends most of its time towing, I love looking at the dyno page for some reason. That's my favorite page.
Yeah, and I want to talk about this. You see on top of the steering column, you have this sensor, the infrared sensor that's watching your eyes.
Ah, yes, the driver monitoring system.
So the RHO will have hands-free, pre-mapped highway driving, dude.
The truck is watching you, Andre.
Yes, it is. It is watching me. But the the F-150 Raptor doesn't have that.
Yes, and I'm actually surprised about that because Ford was supposed to give the Raptor Blue Cruise,
Yeah, and
then
they
they didn't.
Yes.
They actually removed it, basically.
Yes.
So I'm really happy that they did that too. Let's talk about the paddle shifters because those are really unique. If I look at the back of the steering wheel, you can see they're split there. It's kind of like a fork.
Yeah, and there's my buttons for
The
like
buttons in
volume.
there, yeah.
Volume and radio station changing.
But those have a pretty decent look to them. Now I guess we should talk about pricing. So this is going to start at just under $70,000, right?
Yeah, before destination.
Yes. So we're looking at 72, just under 72, including destination, and
Yes.
that could get you a base version of this, of course, the base RHO.
And then this one, because we have the extra sensors, the extra features, the bigger screen. This is $9,995. So basically 10 grand to get the upgraded package.
Yes, we're talking about 82,000 and change. Be available later this year, but Ram says they're not going to be limiting production necessarily, so this should be more available than the previous model.
Yeah, as many as you guys want to buy, they'll sell them, and you can order them now.
Yep.
When you see this video in April, you can order them now, and they said Q3 of 2024 they will be on sale at dealerships. So I cannot wait to actually put this up against F-150 Raptor because, by the way, F-150 Raptor has less horsepower, dude.
That's true. It does have less horsepower. It has a bigger displacement engine, so I'm really going to be interested to compare them side by side.
Yeah.
Ram is saying this should be faster 0 to 60, even though we have an 8-speed automatic instead of a 10-speed, and the quarter-mile time is pretty blistering. Really all things.
13.1
Yeah,
quarter.
pretty decent, really,
Yeah.
for a full-size truck like this. And I think the price tag is exactly right. A big complaint about the TRX had always been that it was a little on the expensive side, and this really solves that expense and that availability question. But of course, if you don't want to spend quite this much money, we also have the new Rebel X over here, which is a twist on the existing Rebel trim. So this is kind of a, what would you call this, like a half trim step above the regular Rebel?
Yeah, so this is actually, so the X is not just cool, right? It's also celebrating 10 years of Ram Rebel because if you remember, the Ram Rebel came out in the previous generation in 2015. And now they're celebrating 10 years of it with this special package. So it's a little bit more expensive as far as Rebels are concerned, but still not an RHO.
Yep, and we have that little Rebel badging right there on the center console, kind of a nice distinctive touch. Lots of really premium touches, honestly, available in the Rebel, actually in the rest of the Ram lineup.
Yeah, so I was talking to their marketing guys, and basically the X has this nice, you can see kind of red through this perforation.
Yeah, it's a really
stitching.
cool touch.
So they have special seats, of course, X labeled. On the back of the seat, can you shine your light? There's these patches that you could put Velcro
I didn't see
on.
that. Oh, I didn't notice that. That's a good catch.
And also on the back, keep going. By the way, these are all turbocharged, by the way.
Yep.
So they're all 3 liters.
All the 3-liter, but this is the standard output 3-liter, as I
you
recall.
see the
correct?
Molly panel?
Oh yeah,
Yep,
those are nice touch.
This is the standard 3-liter output. So what is it?
420 horsepower. Yeah, still pretty decent horsepower. I kind of liked at the initial Ram event when I was driving them all back to back, I kind of liked the the standard output the most for the dollar. I thought it was a really good value.
Yeah, it's only if you're buying the base V6, right, the Pentastar, the standard output Hurricane is only about $2,700 upcharge.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent value there, all things considered.
And also, they told me this color is unique for the X.
Yeah, it's kind of like a wet cement kind of color that I like. I've always thought that the Rebel looked pretty good. I think this is actually my favorite grille in the lineup as far as the texture, the 3D texturing going on there. This gets the regular headlights from the rest of the Ram lineup there.
Yep.
And these are, my memory's bad, are these 33s on this one?
Yeah, 33.
Yeah. 33s.
So not 35s like you would find on an RHO.
But clearly they would fit.
Yeah, and also you can have an option, standard suspension or air, right? So you have kind of a choice.
And that is, the one thing that we should mention on the RHO is it uses an adaptive steel spring suspension, not an adaptive air suspension.
Right.
So this one has the ability to raise and lower itself up. but in the RHO, it's always going to be that one height. I would have loved to have seen an upgraded air suspension in that RHO.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's kind of the jury is still out because a lot of kind of true Baja enthusiasts, right, say that the air suspension may not adjust quick enough.
Yeah,
right?
and they complain about them overheating sometimes,
Sure.
and you can get
And the
some
compressor overheating.
yeah, and some
right?
peculiar damping characteristics as they overheat.
Yeah.
Some part of me, honestly, though, really wishes that it was at least an option for someone that was willing to deal with that, maybe. And maybe they don't want a Baja, but they want to do more traditional off-roading.
Sure.
Maybe they want that extra clearance. That would be kind of cool.
Or comfort maybe on the street, right?
True. Yeah. And that's one thing that we haven't been able to do, of course, is drive these back to back yet. But the Rebel X is also going to be on sale a little bit later this year, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I believe you can order them now as well. So the Rebel X, so there's a standard Rebel, Rebel GT, which has some of the similar features, and then Rebel X, which is this one.
So again, if you're interested in either of these trucks, be sure and reach out to your Ram dealer today because you should be able to order these right around the time that you're watching this video. And yes, the RHO is an expensive truck. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's going to start around $72,000. It's going to go up to around $82,000 all in, plus of course tax, title, license, etc. It's not an inexpensive truck, but I think it is a pretty decent deal. And Ram is really pointing out that this gives you the most horsepower per dollar in the truck segment at the moment, apparently. So really some pretty decent output from that twin turbo inline six. Be sure to let me know what you think about all that down there in the comment section below. Hit those buttons if you haven't already done so. Obviously the like one and the subscribe one. Don't hit that thumbs down button. That's a no-no. And if they want to find you, Andre, where can they find you?
Well, one easy place is oldtfl.com because TFL has many channels.
Yes, the many TFLs, but no TFL floats. So this TFL cars, TFL trucks, TFL
Off-road,
classics, TFL classics,
EV,
TFL EV, okay.
and many others. TFL bike.
TFL bike.
TFL bike,
What
TFL talk.
TFL talk.
Yes.
There's one I'm missing here. I know there's a TFL I'm missing.
Did you say off-road?
Oh, TFL off-road?
Yes.
Yep. But no TFL floats.
No TFL boats.
I'm still campaigning for this one, so if you have Roman's email address, you email Roman and demand a TFL boats channel called TFL Floats. All things boats, floaties, duck boats, paddle boats, sailboats, all the boats.
You can email Roman at ask@tfltruck.com. I'm sure he'll listen.
And there we go. It'll be at the top of your screen.